Hey, so let's talk about the Sony FX6 rig. It's been about a year since I put this down. I don't have like a glorious studio or anything for YouTube. This is literally just like the corner of my bedroom that's dedicated to gear. Let's talk about the FX6 though. It's been about a year since I invested in this camera, and I've spent the better part of the past year building it out and rigging it for what I need. And that's what I want to talk about today. Is this isn't a rig that's designed for making YouTube content or just shooting in the studio. I work as a filmmaker, cinematographer, camera operator on some of the biggest, most difficult and most exclusive ultramarathon, ultra running and endurance events around the world and around the country. And so this rig is literally, very literally built around run and gun filmmaking. And it's also meant for a single owner operator. I think that the FX6 right now is the best single owner operator documentary camera on the market. I'm sure if you're watching this video, you're probably familiar with the FX6. It's just an A7S III with a handle and built-in ND filters. Oh yeah, and I guess it has SDI. Yeah, that's true, but the built-in ND filters are absolutely essential for me. The handle is absolutely essential for me because I am running around operating like this all the time. I love the extra buttons, I love the form factor, and it just kind of makes sense for where I'm at. I also love that in the Sony ecosystem right now, I can scale down. Like I have an A7 IV that I'm shooting on right now. That's my photo camera, but the color science plays really well with the FX6. You can also scale up. We have the FX9, we have the Venice, we have the Burano now. And so the FX6 can kind of mix with those cameras as well. I know it's not exactly the same sensor, it's not exactly the same, but the color science is all within the same field. And the price point is affordable enough. It just makes sense for me. I'm not always getting my full kit fee or kit rate for bringing this on. And so that's probably why it wouldn't have made sense for me to go with, let's say, an FX9 or a Red Komodo, something that I'd be investing probably 50 to 100% more, like almost like double the investment in those cameras. But this makes sense for where I'm at, and I still am able to get that kit fee on certain productions. And I am at the point now where having this camera is enabling me to get onto productions I wouldn't get onto with, let's say, an A7S III that's a little bit rigged out or an FX3 that's a little bit rigged out. So let's talk about the different parts of the rig. I mean, we're all familiar with what the FX6 looks like. I guess let's start with power. And power is one thing that honestly, I'm still considering whether I made the right decision. I use these smaller batteries that plug directly into the camera. So they're a replacement for the Sony BPU style batteries. But the big thing, of course, is they have a D-tap out as well as a USB out. The D-tap is what is really important though, for sure. And that is how I'm powering the monitor. They're 98 watt hour, which is the same as like some of your smaller V-mount batteries. I will say, so it has a power output, like a power remaining number on the monitor. I've learned that that's not super accurate, but I can work around that a little bit. And for what I'm doing, again, I'm running with this camera, I'm hiking with this camera, all these kind of things, weight is a priority. If weight wasn't a priority, V-mounts are the way to go. They're like universal, you can power your lights and all this other stuff. Totally get that. But for me, this rig is going to be designed around saving weight. And so that powers, I guess next we'll just talk about the monitor. I'm doing that D-tap out to a dummy battery on the back. This is the Small HD Cine 5. It's an expensive monitor. I love small HD monitors though. I came from a long time. I mean, if you see my old C200 videos, I had I think it was the 702 Bright for a while. The Cine 5 is kind of the successor to the 503 Ultra Bright. It's not the highest end, but it kind of works for me. What I like, two things that I like about it, it has a joystick on the side, so you're not just using the touch screen to operate the camera. And so I like that. Again, some of these situations where I'm in and it's raining or it's dusty and all this kind of stuff, I don't love to be touching the screen all the time. So Small HD Cine 5 makes a lot of sense. Has the SDI in and out, has the HDMI in and out, the IO that I like. It also has all the tools, all the perks, the great operating system of a Small HD monitor. I do also keep with me, flip that out, the default Sony monitor, both as a backup. I love having backups. That's something else that my kit is designed around, having stuff that I can sub out in the field if things go wrong, because things do, especially when you are like out in the desert for 5 days with no access to a camera store or something like that. But love having this around just because it is smaller, it is lighter weight, and it has like tap to focus, all those little things. So the way that I have the monitor rigged on here is a little bit janky, but I'm still kind of figuring that out. But ideally it would be rigged like straight along, but the Sony shoe up top here, I've never found, I don't have full confidence in the MI shoe that's on top of the handle that's plugged into the FX6. I have 3 or 4 different parts that give me the tilt that I want. If I need to swivel it at all, that kind of works, but this is just kind of how I've come to work with it. That may be changing. That may still be changing. All right, what else can we talk about here? We can talk about, so I have a 1 camera top plate, and then I have this little mic mount. Now, I rarely see anybody else mounting the mic like this, but I just hate the default. I don't even want to call it a shock mount. It's just like a clip that goes on the front of the FX6 with the mic, and the mic is like way out here. It's getting in the shot, it's hanging off the front, it's like bouncing around. And because, again, I'm running with this, I'm hiking with this, I need a real shock mount. I need something that's gonna absorb handling noise. And so this Ore shock mount I have had for 6-ish years. Same with the NTG3. I've had the NTG3 since college. I invested in this while I was still a student. Got my dead cat on here to protect from wind noise. This is just a great on-camera mic solution. You can also see there, top handle, I'm operating off of that a lot. Put a little bit of grip tape on there because that just makes my hand feel a little bit better after long days of operating off the top. I do have the side grip on it right now. I don't always have the side grip on the camera. Sometimes I do. It's nice to be able to just like kind of trap the camera against your body, especially if I'm hand holding an interview. I'll just trap it here. And one other thing about the kit, I use SD card media. I don't really use the CF Express cards, and that's because it's a little bit cheaper. I like to have the backups. Again, I want to have a whole bunch of SD cards. I want to be able to shoot for 3 or 4 days without having to clear a card. And because I have an SD card reader in my laptop and I have legacy SD card readers, I have a couple dual SD card readers, I want to be able to use those and not have to travel with at least 2 CF Express readers. I know that the dump times are faster and that like I would get higher bit rate and that kind of stuff, but for me, having the redundancy, having the backups, and being able to fit all that into a little bit of a smaller package is what works for what I'm doing. Lensing is, just depends on the project. At this point, I've got a Cine lens on here right now, but also have Sony 24-105, Sony 24-70, like just kind of whatever fits. So that's the rig. That is what this looks like. It's important to me too that this can break down into a Pelican 1510, so I can fly with it super easily. I also have these Peak Design anchors on here, one on the back, one on the top handle, which hiking, walking around, just makes it a little bit easier to carry the camera, so you're not always just having to have it gripped up in your hands. So there you go. That is my Sony FX6 documentary cinema camera rig. Hope that gives you some ideas for building out your own kit.
All right, Drew, do your magic.